I, 29M, lost my wife Mia, 31F, in a tragic car accident 6 months ago. We have twin boys, Ethan and Noah, 7M, and adjusting to life without their mom has been incredibly difficult. Mia and I met in high school when I was a sophomore and she was a senior. It wasn't love at first sight or anything dramatic like that. We were lab partners in AP Biology, and at first, we couldn't stand each other. Mia thought I was a slacker because I was always joking around, and I thought she was uptight because she was so focused on getting perfect grades. But as we worked together over the semester, things changed. I saw how passionate Mia was about science, and how her eyes lit up when she talked about her dreams of working in tech. She saw that beneath my joker exterior, I was actually pretty good at biology and cared about doing well. We started hanging out outside of class, studying together, and eventually, those study sessions turned into date nights. Everyone thought we wouldn't last when Mia went off to college. They said high school relationships never survive long distance. But we proved them wrong. We talked every day, visited each other as often as we could, and when I graduated 2 years later, I chose a college near hers so we could finally be together again. We got married right after I finished college. It was a small ceremony in Mia's parents' backyard. Mia's sister Jen, 35F, was the maid of honor, and my best friend from college was the best man. Mia's parents, John, 62M, and Linda, 60F, were over the moon. They'd always treated me like a son, and now it was official. We had the boys a year later. It wasn't planned, we were both freaking out when we found out Mia was pregnant, and then doubly so when we learned it was twins. But from the moment Ethan and Noah were born, they became our whole world. Mia was always the ambitious one. She landed a job as a software engineer at a big tech company right out of college and quickly climbed the ranks. I had studied education, planning to become a teacher, but when the boys were born, we decided it made more sense for me to stay home with them. Mia's salary was more than enough to support us, and childcare for twins would have eaten up most of my potential teaching salary anyway. I loved being a stay-at-home dad. I got to witness all of the boys' firsts, first steps, first words, first day of school. Mia would come home every evening eager to hear about their day, and weekends were always family time. We had a good life, a happy life. Then, 6 months ago, everything changed. Mia was driving home from a late night at work. It had been raining, the roads were slick. A drunk driver ran a red light and hit her car. She died on impact. In an instant, our perfect little world shattered. The first few weeks after Mia's death are a blur. I was in shock, going through the motions of arranging the funeral and taking care of the boys, but not really processing what had happened. Jan and Mia's parents were a huge help during that time. They practically moved in, cooking meals, helping with the boys, fielding calls from well-wishers. But as the weeks turned into months, I started to feel suffocated. Jen, in particular, seemed reluctant to leave. She'd come over every day, often staying late into the evening. At first, I was grateful for the help. She'd cook meals, help with the boys' homework, and even started teaching them how to play the piano, something Mia had always wanted to do but never had the time for. However, over time, Jen's behavior became increasingly controlling and critical. She started making comments about my parenting. She'd say things like, "Mia would have done it this way or the boys need a woman's touch." It hurt, but I brushed it off, thinking she was just grieving too. Then, she began criticizing my efforts to find a job. With Mia gone, I needed to start earning an income to support the boys. But every time I mentioned a job application or an interview, Jen would say, "You should be focusing on the boys, not on your career, or Mia wouldn't want you to put the boys in daycare." I tried to explain that I didn't have a choice. Our savings wouldn't last forever, and while Mia had life insurance, I wanted to save that money for the boys' future. But Jen wouldn't listen. She kept insisting that she and her husband Mark, 37M, could help out financially if needed. Things came to a head last week when Jen showed up unannounced with a stack of papers. She sat me down at the kitchen table, the same table where Mia and I had spent countless evenings planning our future, and told me she thought it would be best if she became the boys' legal guardian. I was stunned. Jen went on to explain that she and Mark could provide a more stable home environment, and that the boys needed a mother figure. She talked about how they had a bigger house in a better school district, how Mark's job as a lawyer meant they were financially secure, how she could stay home full-time with the boys just like I had done. I listened in disbelief as Jen laid out her plan. She said I could still see the boys whenever I wanted, that this wasn't about taking them away from me, but about doing what was best for them. She even suggested I could move in with them too, at least for a while, to help with the transition. When I finally found my voice, I told her absolutely not. These were my children, Mia's children. We had raised them together, planned their futures together. I was perfectly capable of continuing to raise them on my own. Jen didn't take my refusal well. She started yelling, saying I was being selfish and not thinking about what's best for the boys. She brought up every little mistake I've made in the past 6 months, like the time I forgot to pack Ethan's inhaler for a school trip, or when Noah got a bad grade because I didn't help him study for a test. She even had the audacity to say that Mia would be disappointed in me. That was the last straw. I lost my temper and told Jen to leave. I said she was no longer welcome in our home if she couldn't respect my role as the boy's father. She left in tears, but I thought that would be the end of it. Yesterday, I got a call from Child Protective Services. They informed me that someone had reported concerns about my ability to care for the boys. They didn't tell me who made the report, but I knew it had to be Jen. I'm furious and terrified. The CPS worker is scheduled to visit our home next week for an inspection. I called John and Linda to tell them what happened, hoping they'd talk some sense into Jen. Instead, they sided with her. They think I'm being unreasonable and that I should consider Jen's offer for the sake of the boys. They even suggested that I move in with them and let them help raise the kids. I feel like I'm being attacked from all sides. These people claim to love my boys, but they're trying to tear apart the only stable thing the twins have left, their relationship with me. I'm doing my best to juggle everything, and yes, I've made mistakes, but I love my sons more than anything in this world. Last night, after I put the boys to bed, I sat in Mia's old home office, surrounded by her things. Her degrees hanging on the wall, family photos on the desk, even her favorite coffee mug still sitting where she left it that last morning. I broke down and cried for the first time in months. I miss her so much. I miss her advice, her laugh, the way she could always calm me down when I was stressed. I don't know how to do this without her. But I have to figure it out. For Ethan and Noah. They've already lost their mother, I can't let them lose their father too. I don't know what to do. Should I give in to avoid a messy legal battle? Should I cut ties with Mia's family completely? How do I protect my rights as a father while also doing what's best for my boys? Update 1. It's been a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments and advice. Your words really helped me gain perspective and find the strength to stand up for myself and my boys. The CPS visit happened 2 weeks ago, and it went better than I expected. The social worker, Sarah, was understanding and professional. She arrived early in the morning, just as I was getting the boys ready for school. I was nervous, but I tried to act as normal as possible for Ethan and Noah's sake. Sarah observed our morning routine, me making breakfast, okay, pouring cereal, but hey, it was a nutritious brand, helping the boys pack their backpacks, and double-checking that Ethan had his inhaler. She seemed impressed by how well-behaved the boys were and how smoothly everything ran. After I dropped the boys off at school, Sarah inspected our home. I'll admit, it wasn't spotless. There were some dishes in the sink from the night before, and toys scattered in the living room. But it was clean where it mattered, no safety hazards, plenty of food in the fridge, clean clothes in the boys' dressers. I showed Sarah the boys' room, which still has some of Mia's touches. She had painted a mural of a forest on one wall when the boys were toddlers. The boys love it so much that I can't bring myself to paint over it, even though it makes my heart ache every time I see it. Sarah noticed the piano in the living room and asked about it. I explained that Jen had been teaching the boys to play, but I didn't go into detail about our falling out. I did mention that music had been important to Mia, and that I was trying to keep that part of her alive for the boys. I had prepared a folder with important documents, the boys' medical records, school reports, and even a detailed schedule of our daily routine. I also had documentation of my job search efforts and financial plans. Sarah seemed impressed by my organization and dedication. During her visit, Sarah interviewed me about our situation. I was honest about the challenges I've been facing as a single dad, but I also emphasized all the efforts I've been making. I told her about our family counseling sessions, about how I've been encouraging the boys to talk about their mom and their feelings. Sarah didn't ask directly about who had made the CPS report, but she did ask if there was anyone who might have concerns about my parenting. I hesitated, then decided to be honest. I explained the situation with Jen and Mia's parents, including my suspicions about who made the report. Sarah didn't confirm or deny, but she did say that false reports are taken very seriously. A week after the visit, I received a call from Sarah. She informed me that the case was being closed, as they found no evidence of neglect or abuse. She also mentioned that they would be investigating the source of the report for potential misuse of the system. I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. With that hurdle cleared, I decided it was time to confront Jen. I invited her over for a talk while the boys were at a friend's house. When she arrived, I could see she was nervous. We sat at the kitchen table, the same place where she had ambushed me with her guardianship papers a month ago. I calmly laid out everything, how her behavior had been affecting me and the boys, my suspicions about the CPS report, and my decision going forward. I told her that while I appreciated her help in the beginning, her recent actions had crossed a line. Jen broke down in tears, admitting that she had indeed called CPS. She said she was worried about the boys and thought she was doing the right thing. She talked about how seeing me struggle reminded her of when Mia and I were first dating, how protective she had felt of her little sister then. I told her that while I understood she was grieving too, her actions were unacceptable. I explained that for the time being, she would not be allowed unsupervised visits with the boys. If she wanted to see them, it would have to be with me present. Jen didn't take this well. She accused me of using the boys to punish her and threatened to take legal action for grandparents' rights on behalf of John and Linda. I stood my ground, telling her that any further threats would result in her losing all contact with the boys. After Jen left, I called John and Linda. I explained everything that had happened and my decision regarding Jen. To my surprise, they were more understanding than I expected. They admitted that they had been worried but realized they had overstepped. They apologized for suggesting I give up custody and asked if we could work on rebuilding our relationship. We agreed to start with short, supervised visits. They came over last weekend, and it was okay. Not great, but not terrible either. The boys were happy to see their grandparents, and John and Linda seemed to make an effort to support my parenting decisions rather than questioning them. As for the boys, I've been honest with them about what's going on, in an age-appropriate way. They miss their aunt, but they've been incredibly resilient. We've started seeing a family counselor to help us navigate this difficult time. In our last session, Noah admitted that he sometimes feels angry at Mia for leaving us. It broke my heart, but the counselor said it's a normal feeling for kids dealing with loss. On a positive note, I've managed to secure a work-from-home job as a customer service representative for an online retailer. It's not ideal, and definitely not what I imagined I'd be doing with my education degree, but it allows me to be there for the boys while still earning an income. The hours are flexible, so I can work while the boys are at school and in the evenings after they've gone to bed. I've also reached out to some of Mia's old colleagues, and they've been incredibly supportive. A few of them have offered to be references for me, and one even helped me update my resume. It's bittersweet. These were people I used to see at company picnics and holiday parties, and now they're helping me find a job because Mia is gone. It's still a struggle every day. There are moments when I feel overwhelmed, when I look at the boys and see Mia's eyes or smile and it hits me all over again that she's gone. But we're finding our new normal. Last night, as I was tucking the boys into bed, Ethan asked if we could visit the park where Mia used to take them on Saturdays. It hurt, but it also felt good to remember those happy times. We're going to go this weekend. I'm more determined than ever to be the father Ethan and Noah deserve. Mia and I may not have planned for this, but I know she'd be proud of how we're managing. We're going to be okay. Update 2. It's been 3 months since my last update, and I wish I could say things have gotten easier, but life seems determined to throw more challenges our way. About a month ago, Jen reached out to apologize. She said she had started grief counseling and realized how inappropriate her behavior had been. She asked if we could start rebuilding our relationship. I was cautious but agreed to let her see the boys in supervised settings. We started with short visits at our house. Jen would come over for dinner once a week, and we'd all play board games or watch a movie together. It was awkward at first, but slowly, things started to feel more normal. The boys were thrilled to have their aunt back in their lives, especially when she resumed their piano lessons. Things were going well for a few weeks. Jen seemed to be respecting my boundaries, and there were moments when it felt like we were becoming a family again. She even helped me repaint the boys' room. We kept Mia's forest mural, but updated the rest of the walls to reflect the boys' current interests. But then, last week, everything fell apart again. I got a call from the boys' school in the middle of my work shift. Ethan had a severe asthma attack, and when they tried to use his inhaler, they discovered it was empty. I was horrified. I always make sure to check their inhalers and keep extras at school. I rushed to the school, my heart pounding the entire way. When I got there, I found Jen in the nurse's office with Ethan. She was hysterical, apologizing over and over. Ethan was pale and shaky but okay. The school nurse had been able to use a nebulizer to help him breathe. It turns out, Jen had picked the boys up from school the day before, with my permission, and taken them to the park. Ethan had a mild attack, and they used up his inhaler. Jen promised she'd tell me so I could refill it, but she forgot. She was so ashamed that she didn't say anything, hoping I'd check it myself before the boys went to school. I was furious. Not only had Jen put Ethan's life at risk, but she had also broken my trust again. In the heat of the moment, I told her she was no longer welcome in our lives. I said some harsh things that I'm not proud of, but I was scared and angry. The next day, I received a letter from a lawyer. Jen and Mia's parents are suing for grandparents' rights and custody of the boys. They're claiming that I'm an unfit parent, using the asthma incident and the previous CPS report as evidence. I'm devastated and terrified. I can't lose my boys. They're all I have left of Mia, and more importantly, they're my whole world. I've contacted a family lawyer, and we're preparing to fight this, but I'm worried. What if the judge sees me as an inadequate parent? What if they think the boys would be better off with Jen and their grandparents? To make matters worse, my work-from-home job has been struggling. The company is downsizing, and I'm worried about losing my income right when I need it most for legal fees. I've been applying for other jobs, but it's hard to find something that allows me the flexibility to take care of the boys. The boys can sense that something is wrong. They've been asking about Aunt Jen and why they can't see her. I'm trying to shield them from the legal battle, but it's hard. Noah has started having nightmares, and Ethan's asthma seems to be flaring up more often, probably due to stress. Last night, I found Noah sitting in Mia's old office, looking at photos of her on her computer. He asked me if Mommy would be mad at him for missing Aunt Jen. It broke my heart. I sat with him and we looked through the photos together, talking about our favorite memories of Mia. I told him that mommy would never be mad at him for his feelings, and that it's okay to miss people even when we're upset with them. I feel like I'm failing them. I'm trying so hard to be both mom and dad, to provide for them financially and emotionally, but it never seems to be enough. I miss Mia more than ever. She would know how to handle this. She always knew the right thing to say to make everything better. Our neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, has been a godsend through all of this. She's a retired teacher who lives next door and has been helping me with the boys after school. She's offered to testify on my behalf if the custody case goes to court. It means a lot to know that someone sees how hard I'm trying. I'm not giving up, though. These are my boys, and I'm going to fight with everything I have to keep our family together. I just hope it's enough. Update 3, it's been 6 weeks since my last update, and I'm relieved to say that things have finally taken a turn for the better. The custody battle with Jan and Mia's parents went to court. It was a grueling process that lasted for several days. I had to sit there and listen as Jan and her lawyer painted me as an incompetent parent, bringing up every mistake I'd made since Mia's death. They talked about the asthma incident, the CPS report, even times when I'd been late picking up the boys from school because of work. But my lawyer was amazing. She helped me stay calm and presented our case clearly. We had character witnesses, Mrs. Rodriguez, the boys' teachers, even some of Mia's old co-workers, who spoke about how involved I am in the boys' lives, how they're always clean, well-fed, and happy. Mrs. Rodriguez's testimony was particularly powerful. She spoke about overhearing me reading to the boys every night, even when I was exhausted from work, and how she often saw us playing in the backyard or working on homework together. We also had evidence of all the efforts I've been making, documentation of our counseling sessions, the boys' improved grades, even a journal I'd been keeping to track Ethan's asthma symptoms and treatments. The turning point came when the judge asked to speak to Ethan and Noah privately. I was nervous, but I knew the boys would tell the truth. When they came out, Noah ran straight to me and hugged me tight. The judge didn't tell me what they said, but she looked at me with new understanding in her eyes. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor. She said that while I'm not perfect, I'm a dedicated father doing my best in difficult circumstances. She criticized Jan and my in-laws for attempting to use the court system to bully me instead of working together for the boys' benefit. The judge ordered Jan and me as parents to attend family counseling with us if they want to maintain a relationship with the boys. They agreed, and we've had 2 sessions so far. It's been tense, but I'm hopeful that we can rebuild some trust for the sake of the boys. On the work front, I got some unexpected good news. One of Mia's old colleagues reached out with a job offer. It's an entry-level position in the tech company Mia used to work for, with flexible hours and the option to work from home when needed. The salary is much better than my current job, and there's room for growth. I start next month, and I'm both excited and nervous. The boys are doing better too. We've settled into a good routine, and they're opening up more about their feelings. Last week, Noah told me he was proud of me for fighting the bad guys in court. It made me realize that even though I've tried to shield them, they understand more than I give them credit for. We still have tough days. Sometimes I still reach for my phone to text Mia about something funny the boys did, only to remember she's gone. The boys still have moments where they break down crying, missing their mom. But we're learning to navigate this new normal together. I know we have a long road ahead of us, but for the first time in a long time, I feel hopeful about our future. Mia would be proud of how far we've come, and I'm determined to keep moving forward, for the boys and for her memory. Thank you all for your support throughout this journey. Your advice and kind words have been a lifeline during the darkest times. We're going to be okay.